We created an ecological disaster.
Hey everyone, Scott David, the Director of Investigations for Animal Outlook here. Jurassic World Dominion is coming out soon, and if you've been keeping up with the movies, the big plot point going into this new one is that the dinosaurs and other extinct reptiles were let out of captivity and are now roaming freely, seemingly spread around the world. Some of them are even having babies, possibly making them invasive species. And even without seeing the movie, it's pretty easy to imagine how problematic the introduction of previously extinct reptiles could be, not just for people, but for the environment in general. As many of these species are just real big, native predators probably aren't going to be able to keep them in check. You can envision the theropod dinosaurs easily replacing existing top predators and preying on basically all the megafauna we have today. Large herbivores like sauropods and ceratopsians would probably do a number on native plant populations. Scientists estimate sauropods may have had to eat a literal ton of plant matter each day just to sustain themselves. But invasive species aren't just dinosaurs brought back from extinction for theme park purposes. As humans have traveled the world and colonized all over, they've brought many species from one environment to another, either on purpose or by accident. Just in the US, there are 6,500 introduced species of plants and animals. So today, let's talk about a few species humans have introduced to non-native environments, their effects on the surrounding ecosystems at large, and just how easy it is for these species to get out of control. So first, let's head to Florida, where a host of non-native reptiles have established populations. These are species who were kept by people as companion animals, but were released into the wild on purpose or on accident. Burmese pythons were introduced after a hurricane destroyed a facility in which these animals were being bred to be sold as companion animals. Argentine tegus and Nile monitors were probably released by people who initially wanted to keep them. The large reptiles now established in Florida, many of whom are carnivorous, wreak havoc on native wildlife. In a 2012 study looking at an area of the Everglades where Burmese pythons were well established, populations of native mammals were absolutely decimated. Numbers of raccoons and possums were 99% lower than before, and foxes and rabbits basically disappeared. Not great. Speaking of rabbits, they themselves often become invasive. Wild rabbits were introduced to Australia for hunting in the 1800s. A wealthy settler there had just 13 European wild rabbits sent to him, and he let those rabbits roam around his property, and now there are 200 million rabbits in the country, which is actually down from the estimated 10 billion that there used to be. They eat young seedlings, which leaves less food for native animals like wallabies, wombats, and bilbies. Their populations also support larger populations of non-native predators like foxes and cats, which puts further strain on native wildlife. Invasive pigs are also a problem in Australia, where they were brought as livestock in the 1800s. There's an estimated 24 million pigs roaming Australia today. And they're also a problem here in the US, where they were brought as a source of food in the 1500s by explorers and settlers, and wild populations sprung up as these animals escaped into the wild. Then, Eurasian wild boars were brought to the US in the 1900s for sport hunting. Now there could be as many as 9 million of them in the US, and they've been seen in 39 states. Most of these animals are hybrids of the introduced wild and domesticated varieties, and feral hogs do damage to crops and woodlands and compete with native species like deer. They also threaten ground-nesting bird species like turkey and bobwhite, and they can even threaten sea turtles, as feral pigs will often root out and eat eggs. So yeah, those are just a few examples of real-life, non-dinosaur invasive species. I do hope you've noticed that the species I covered today were brought to their new homes by humans on purpose, either as food or as recreation, even if they weren't released on purpose. As a smart man once said, life finds a way. Well, that's all for today. Please like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you, and I will see you next time.